Welcome back, best ever listeners, to another episode of Passive Investor Tips. I'm your host, Travis Watts. In today's episode, what we're talking about is creating your own economy and focusing on what's in your control. Disclaimers as always, never financial advice, not telling you or anyone what to do with your money, so please always seek licensed financial advice when it comes to your own investing. Now, to kick this episode off, like many of us, myself included, we are constantly bombarded with news and data and statistics about the Federal Reserve and about interest rates and about the economy and about recessions. And it's really interesting because I had this epiphany about thinking about my own economy, thinking about my own investments, my own circumstances, my own budget, my own spending. And this came when I was on a call with an investor a couple of weeks ago. And this investor says to me, I'm hesitant about investing in commercial real estate right now because I just read that this year, multifamily rents are slowly but surely trickling down. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. I'm not going to argue that point. I don't know what source he was citing, but I thought all the deals that I've been investing in this year, our rents are actually going up. And that's because I invest in value add real estate, which means when we buy a property, the rent is already below the market. And so as we renovate and we turn units, we're bringing the rents up to the market. So in his statistic, rents are coming down, let's say 5-6%. In our case, rents are going up by 6-8%. Pretty interesting to think about. So if we take, for example, let's say that the median household income in the United States is $75,000 US. Well, if you make $150,000 a year, that statistic isn't really relevant to you. It doesn't really serve any purpose other than a general understanding about other people around you. Now, equally so, let's say that the inflation, the national inflation, peaked out in 2022 at around 9% annualized. But what about your inflation? What about your expenses? What about your budget? You know, if in 2022, for example, you decided to cut some of your budget and cut some of your expenses, it's very possible that you experienced no inflation at all in that particular year. So I share all of that with you as a simple reminder that you control your own economy. It's not the Fed, it's not the news, it's not the media, it's not the president. It is you that's in control. So what are some practical takeaways from this stoic philosophy of focusing on what's in your control? Well, number one, market shifts are simply opportunities for people. For example, because interest rates have gone up so fast and so aggressively, commercial real estate pricing has come down. That now becomes an opportunity for you and I, if we so choose, to buy the dip and get into real estate now at these 20 to 25% discounts. Or let's say that wages have come up in recent times due to this higher than expected inflation, which is true, and that's affected the pricing at restaurants that you historically have gone to. Well, you can decide to either cut back on going to restaurants as often, or maybe cook at home to save some money. Or let's say that gas prices have really skyrocketed. Well, you have the choice, if you so choose, to switch to an electric vehicle. And now what if electric prices start to skyrocket like we've seen in the last couple of years? Well, you might consider putting solar panels on your roof, for example. Or if you're working with a company that is not compensating you for what you're actually worth, you have the choice to switch and do another job. In fact, there was a study done, this has been a while now, it was by Forbes, and what they said was employees who stay in companies longer than 2 years get paid 50% less. That's a pretty shocking and bold statement to make. So the bottom line here is that it's simple but not easy, as I like to say. We all know this stuff, but it can be difficult to make change. But I do encourage you to take a look at your own economy and your own circumstances and pay a little less attention to the national headlines and statistics. In other words, what can you do and what changes can you make to make 2024 your best year yet? You're listening to Passive Investor Tips. I'm your host, Travis Watts. Love to be a mentor or resource for you. You can always reach out to me on social media, email, and I would be happy to have a conversation with you. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Share these episodes with anyone you think could find value in them. Truly appreciate you being here. Until the next episode, have a best ever week, everyone. Thanks for listening.